Dawson Rider with you.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Power Rangers Ninja Steel's episode. Ninja Steels? There's just one Ninja Steel. Wait, there's lots of Ninja Steel. Anyway, that threw me off. Episodes 7 and 8 of Ninja Steel. I'm reviewing these together because they aired as an hour. I thought about splitting that reviews up, but I didn't. Amazing story, right? I'm thinking about selling the rights for a movie. Anyway, so I guess in honor of the Power Rangers movie coming out next week, they decided to do an hour debut for the Gold Ranger, even though only really one of the episodes was solely about him. Just funny side note, like I like how they did this to pump up the movie, and then they had like a behind the scenes thing, but it was during the following show, which was The Loud House, which I hate when shows do that, when they're like, oh, watch the next show that you're not planning on watching for this sneak preview. Like, I think to make this effective, they should have put the preview in the hour, but whatever. But let's just go ahead and get on with the review. I'll sort of just go chronologically. Luckily, episode 7 didn't, like, entirely not have to do with the Gold Ranger, which was nice, even though it would have been cool to have maybe episode 7 as its own thing and then give the Gold Ranger a full hour, just because I miss when the Gold Ranger had, like, an hour debut or multiple debut episodes, like the old days, kind of like the same thing with, like, hour pilots and stuff like that. But that would have been cool. But regardless, it was nice that it felt like it was right to put them together because the episode both opened and closed with Gold Ranger stuff, which was neat. But the main focus of the episode was Sara's focus episode, which was basically like Hermione using time to go to all the classes, and like the lesson was basically Ron Swanson's lesson from Parks and Rec when Leslie was running from City Council, probably running from Jam, to be honest. Boom, Power Rangers jammed. But anyway, basically of stretching herself too thin when she was trying to plan Jerry's birthday party. So the moral of this week's Power Rangers was, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. So, but that was pretty much the moral, and she basically created a bunch of cyber cams, except it was a bit different because she kind of had to like monitor them, it seemed like. I felt like it was unclear whether she just had to watch them or whether like her brain was literally being split like 5 ways. But regardless, she basically did that, which I found kind of funny, right after a season where Kendall was like, I have to stay at the base because blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. I don't know why that was Kendall's voice. Anyway, but so the moral of the story was she's stretching herself too thin, and the monster got a hold of her cloning technology and used it to clone a bunch of Galvanexes. It was pretty par for the course stuff, but I found it decent. I quite like Sara. I just really like her energy and performance, and I thought it was a pretty decently done little plot. I feel like there was... actually, I did think they used it, but I think there could have been a balance of, like, I understood the stretching too thin thing, but at the same time, I thought that was actually kind of a clever way of getting around things that they could implement later, and they actually ended up using it later in the next episode, which was another nice tie-in, so that was kind of neat. But it was pretty par for the course stuff, a little bit cheesy with the lesson, but I do have to give props again to the fact that Mick has been a better mentor than, like, pretty much all the official mentors we've had so far in the Saban Brands era. I mean, maybe G was kind of decent when he had his pimp phone and stuff and he was like, Jaden! But, you know, the last two at the very least, Mick's actually done a better job at mentoring, which is kind of a nice thing. But yeah, other than that, we also got the debut of the Ufo Maru, aka the Astro Zord, which unfortunately is one of my negatives, as again, it was one of those kind of throwaway debuts. Granted, if I remember right, Ninja's debuts weren't that monumental, so as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's kind of a general problem Toku has right now. It's not just specific to Power Rangers, because both Sentai and Rider right now have that. It doesn't feel special anymore when something debuts, it just feels like, oh hey, here's this. So that's kind of a general problem that I kind of wish they would have fixed, but... So that was kind of unfortunate that those are just throwaways, but other than that, I just found it to be a fairly decent episode. And I did like that it tied into the next one with the setup at the beginning with the gold, and then like the cliffhanger of him transforming and jumping out at the end was a really nice lead-in. I thought it was kind of weird that the Ufo Zord was the reason he got rescued. Like, I assume it was kind of like the Ninja Steel sentience, like vague sentience that did it, but it just seems weird that it would wait. I was thinking, well, maybe it's because like the Ufo Zord can fly and like the elephant couldn't go up there, but I'm like, but the Dragon Zord could fly? Like, after a Megazord battle, they could totally take the Dragon Zord or the Dragon Zord mode of the Megazord up there. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weirdly convenient, but it was still kind of a cool shot to see him jumping out of the ship and onto the UFO Zord. And they also got a unique cockpit, which is cool. It doesn't seem quite as cool as the others. Like, I don't know how much they could have done with it, but the UFO symbol isn't quite as cool, and it's pretty clear they used some of the same, you know, color scheminess from the Dragon to cost cut. But still, it's cool that they do that for all of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Surfers and stuff looks like and the inside of Golds. But yeah, that was just kind of a decent episode. Wait, let me score that one. I'll give this episode, episode 7, I would give it a 7. There we go, that's easy. So okay, now episode 8, Gold Rush. I actually really liked this episode. First of all, I'm really glad that they didn't make Brody, or not Brody, well yeah, Levi Brody's brother. Obviously his name wouldn't have been Levi if it was Brody's brother, but that was kind of a general assumption ever since we found out about his brother. Most people have been speculating that either he would be Gold or would probably be saved for the 3 Red Rangers at the end. Now it's looking like that could be more likely, but given that regardless of my problems with Dino Charge and whatever, both Dino Charge and Ninja Steel have at least done a pretty good job at times of subverting expectations. So I'm not even going to call that a guarantee, but just kind of a likely thing that we'll see the 3 Reds being Brody, his dad, and his brother. Which honestly, I'm fine either way if they don't use it or not. I think it would be neat just because with his dad transforming at the beginning, it would kind of bring a full circle moment if they use it at the end of the series. But who knows, they could use it at the end of Ninja Steel proper for all we know. But regardless of all that speculation, I'm just glad that they didn't make Gold his brother. Just with the way it was leaning and the way that like his brother, he went to where his brother was and then everything happening at the same time, I just thought it would have been too obvious, and I felt like making his brother a member of the main team would have made things a bit too much about Red again, kind of like they had the problem with Dino Charge and make it about their dad. And I really like that. I was even worried up to the minute when they were, Brody and Levi kind of had this bonding thing that like he was going to find out it was his brother. Like maybe his brother was adopted and changed his name. I was like worried for a minute. But no, that wasn't the case. So I'm really glad about that. And I quite like so far the guy that they have Gold. They made him a country singer, which is how they're selling the whole cowboy motif. And he's like a famous country singer, which I think's kind of interesting. We'll see how it plays out. They could end up making some dumb episodes, not taking advantage of it at all. But for now, in the potential future, I think there's potential for some interesting episodes and storylines revolving around the fact that we have like a famous ranger. I can't think of a situation where we have, I'm not talking about like the episode where Dustin got famous for being yellow, but I'm talking about like literally a celebrity as a Power Ranger. I can't think off the top of my head if there's ever been one like that in Power Rangers, but regardless, it definitely hasn't happened a lot because I can't remember it. But I think that has potential for some interesting storylines, and I like his vibe so far. I think it's one of those things to a lesser extent than Ryu Commander where he could go either way, where I end up really liking him, or they could make it super weird and annoying. But right now he's definitely more on the side of I like his vibe. I like him more than Kinji so far, to be honest. So I thought that was pretty cool. I just like the way he debuted in general. I like the mystery of having him on the ship. And then you had kind of a condensed version of the Who Is He story you get from like the original Gold Ranger and a little bit from Silver from Megaforce. And like even the fake out of thinking it was the manager for people that didn't see the pictures of this dude being Gold Ranger on Twitter. But so I liked that little bit of an aspect of it. It made it a little bit confusing timeline-wise with, it seemed like, oh, he escaped the ship, oh, and then suddenly he's got a music signing and a concert. Because of the fact that at the beginning of the episode they mentioned that they kept missing the Gold Ranger, I'm kind of headcanoning / imagining that maybe it was at least a few weeks that they've been chasing this guy. They're real bad with timelines these last few years. It was never clear. Like, they made it seem like in Dino Charge that years had passed, or at least a year in each season, but then at the same time it was like perpetually summer. I don't know. But that was a bit confusing, and because also he would have been missing for at least a couple weeks. Like, I imagine what we've been watching has been taking place over a month or two, but at the very least like a couple weeks. It's hard to tell, but he would have been missing. So there definitely was some awkward stuff there that I think could have benefited from an hour to make it feel like, oh, his people noticed he was missing, and oh, this is what he, like, you know, assimilated back into his life. So that was definitely awkward, but at least like the fact that beginning of the episode they were hunting him down sort of gave me kind of an illusion that a little bit more time had passed between when he escaped the ship at the end of 7 and the events of 8. So, I don't know, that was just kind of weird. But yeah, I like him. I like the bond he formed with Brody. I thought that was nice. I feel like the bit about the burgers at the beginning was a little nod to the Burger Morpher. We're obviously not using the Burger Morpher. We know that based on this episode and based on Toy Fair. We're using a repainted / slightly remolded Ninja Battle Morpher, whatever, which I wasn't against the Burger Morpher, but I'm fine with that. But I'm kind of curious to see if they ever use it, like, even like as a one-off bit, because there's footage of him using it for like selfies and stuff. Like maybe they could do an episode where he likes those burgers so much that he manifests this weird device. I don't know. Like I could see them using it as a one-off, but not as a morpher. But so that's a thing. And that was a moment before he said, "This is my new favorite and this was my brother's favorite." I thought that he was like, "That was my brother's favorite." He's like, "I am your brother." I was worried that was going to happen. I don't know how he would have developed an accent over that time, but you never know. But other little notes. I really liked the scene right before like Gold's official debut scene where the 4 Rangers like stealthily took out the henchmen with their hoods on in their training outfits, which was really neat because just in the previous episode I was thinking, man, I really hope we get to see those in the field and then get to use their hoods because they're always off. So that was really cool. I liked that a lot. That was just a little touch that I liked. I think they're doing a pretty good job with like the Madame Odious stuff and the villains in general. Mainly, one of my main complaints about Ninja was I felt the villains lacked presence. They always felt like they were, I always say this, but they always felt like they were this small little group of like 3 people operating out of a shack. And at least this has presence, and I like the stuff they have going with Madame Odious. I'm curious why Levi didn't just tell Ripcon who had him. Like, I don't know what he has to gain from keeping that secret from Ripcon. If anything, it would be a benefit to have the villains infighting. But, because at first I was like, oh, he probably didn't see her. Because, you know, for all we know, he didn't. But then, like, 2 seconds later, they showed a flashback of him, like, getting the star and being kidnapped and knowing exactly who it was. So that wasn't a thing. I also appreciated the fact that they didn't use footage to have Gold's Zord's debut this week. He got the star at the end, but I'm glad that they didn't. I thought it was kind of weird that they went ahead and put him in the Megazord. Side note, I thought it would have been cool if his armor was a little bit different. His master mode, like if it incorporated the sort of cowboy poncho bit, but whatever. But I thought that was a little bit odd, but I'm glad that they didn't debut his Zord exactly, so we have something to sort of look forward to. So that's one thing I think. Other than Elephant and UFO, I think they've been doing good at not rushing main Megazord debuts, which is nice. They did tease at the end the Lion Fortress Zord and the Lion Galaxy. I feel like the vibe I got from the way they introduced it is it's not something that Ninja Steel is going to create, but of something that's going to be arriving that they're showing a vision of. So that was kind of neat, as opposed to like last year's like teaser cliffhanger, not really a cliffhanger, but, or Dino Charges rather, not Dino Supercharges, but like I remember Dino Charges' little teaser of what was to come when the season came back was about the Gold Ranger, but since we got the Gold Ranger now, the teaser is kind of about Lion Fortress. And I'm really interested to see where that goes, mainly because I feel like I didn't expect them to debut the Chozette's armor until Supercharge and call that Supercharge, or Supercharge, wow. Super Steel or Super Ninja Steel or whatever. So I'll be interested to see whether they potentially hold that off and then use that mode for Ninja or Super Ninja Steel, or whether there's something else. So I don't know. But overall, I quite liked 8. I thought it was a very solid and enjoyable episode. A good debut for Gold. Bonus, his suit doesn't look like urine like Dino Charge Gold did. So I would give it an 8. So yeah, that's the first half of Ninja Steel, which I might have said Dino Charge at one point. But Ninja Steel, and honestly, I did enjoy it. It's definitely not perfect. It has its problems for sure. Mainly Monty and Victor, the worst. But and there's just general problems all over. Some of the same problems that Dino Charge had, even straight up just copying their plots at a couple points. Side note, I noticed this week that they did use the Dino Charge instrumental in the Megazord fight. I didn't catch that before. But anyway, it's definitely not perfect. I definitely agree it has problems. Could it be better? Yes. But I have actually enjoyed myself for a lot of it, which is surprising. And we'll see where it goes. I think the true test is going to come in Super Steel and the second half to see how they handle the later half of the seasons. Because that was when Dino Charge really, their problems came to light was when they didn't handle the end game right and it was all filler. Like right now is the time where it's fine for it to be fillery because that's usually when it is. You get to know the Rangers a bit, and even then it wasn't 100% fillery because we got, explanations for stuff, or explanations. We got debuts of things, even if they weren't great. So I think the more true test of seeing how I like it overall will come in the second half and then Super Steel. But for now, I don't know what the future holds in terms of how I'm going to end up enjoying it or how it's going to end up turning out, but I'm glad to at least have enjoyed bits of it. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll be back with Power Rangers reviews when the hiatus is done. You'll see a movie review from me this week probably, so that's a thing. But anyway, until next time, make sure you have the Crazy Podcast at writersrandom.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.